观众朋友们，大家好，欢迎收看《洋厨房》，我是刘烨。世界美味与你共尝。如果醒来的时候能够吃到一份营养又美味的早餐，那一整天都是活力满满。而对于上班族来说早餐吃什么一直都是头疼的事儿。那今天的卖家秀就要为大家来介绍连吃3天都不会腻的早餐究竟是什么呢？赶紧来看一下。
Oh yeah! Holy cow! Hey, this is me, Molly A. This is my husband, Nick. This is our new addition. And this is our home, our farm on the North Dakota-Minnesota border. The place where I eat, sleep, and breathe food. Hello, little dumplings. I'm doubly excited today because 1, my dad's in Grand Forks, and 2, he's playing a concert at the local art museum. So I'm making us a flavor-filled lunch to enjoy before the recital. And if I know my dad, he is going to want to eat every single one of my sugar-coated pork buns. They are the ultimate combination of sweet and savory. I make a marinated pork filling, stuff it into pillowy soft buns, and then cover them with a crunchy sugar topping. To get started, I'll make my marinade. I'm going to combine 1/3 cup each of soy sauce, rice wine, hoisin, and honey. And this marinade is going to add so much flavor into that pork. Rice wine, which adds a bright pop of acidity. Hoisin sauce, which adds like a dark, sweet, caramelly flavor. And honey for extra sweetness. I really enjoy how sweet and sticky this filling gets. 2 tablespoons of toasted sesame oil, which adds the most amazing toasty nuttiness. 1.5 teaspoons of Chinese 5-spice powder, which has star anise, cinnamon, fennel seeds, Szechuan peppercorns, and cloves. I'll grate in some ginger. Okay. And lastly, I'll smash 6 cloves of garlic and add them in. And I'll just use the blunt end of my knife to do that. Let's get smashed. We're going to a concert. It's a rager. I'll whisk this to combine. All right, now I'll add the pork. I have 2.5 pounds of pork shoulder here. It's boneless and it's been cut into 1-inch slices, and that's gonna help that marinade get all up in there. I'll coat it on both sides and zhuzh it around. This is smelling insane. So these pork buns are inspired by pork buns that my dad and I had when we were in Hong Kong. It was right after I graduated college, and we were there playing with the orchestra. And by far the most memorable bite of that trip were these sugar-coated pork buns that were a total revelation. So I know that my dad is gonna freak out over these. I'll cover this up and let it marinate in the fridge for a few hours. Then I'll roast it at 350 degrees for 50 minutes until it's lightly caramelized on all sides. And while the pork is cooking, I'm going to thicken up the marinade and turn it into a saucy element for the filling. I've got some cornstarch, which will help the mixture thicken, and I'm going to pour most of the marinade into my pan. And I'll bring it to a simmer. And then with the reserved marinade, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of cornstarch and whisk it to combine. And this is going to create a slurry which just helps the cornstarch incorporate smoothly and evenly. And I'll cook this, stirring until it thickens, almost the consistency of a gravy. Oh yeah, this is nice and thick. When the pork is done, I'm gonna toss it in this and make it extra flavorful. I'll remove this from the heat and allow it to cool, and in the meantime, I'm gonna work on my buns. This bun dough is so soft and slightly sweet, it is pillowy perfection wrapped around the pork filling. To get started, I'm gonna activate my yeast. I'll sprinkle 1 packet right into some warm water. And yeast feasts on sugar, so I'm gonna add a pinch of sugar too to help it along. I'll give this a swirl, and then I'm gonna allow it to sit until it gets foamy on top. And in the meantime, I'll mix up my dry ingredients. In my mixer bowl here, I'm gonna add 1 cup of cake flour, and then 1/4 cup of sugar, 1 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour, And if you don't have cake flour, you can just use all-purpose flour. And 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. I'll stir this to combine. And now I'll stir up my wet ingredients. My yeast is looking foamy and happy. I'm gonna add 1 large egg to this. This will add some richness. 1/2 cup of whole milk, which will help make the dough tender. And 3 tablespoons of neutral oil, which will add that moistness to the dough. I'll whisk to combine. Okay, the wet ingredients are combined. I'll add them to the dry ingredients. And I'll let this go until it starts to form a ball. This dough is looking great. It's smooth and still a little sticky, which is exactly what I want. I love hearing my dad play. He's such a great clarinetist. He's who inspired me to become a musician in the first place. He would go to all my concerts, so I can't wait to go to his concert later today. I'm stretching the dough into a ball. I want it to have a nice taut surface so that it rises evenly. I'll grab a clean bowl. I'll drizzle it with some oil so that the dough doesn't stick. I'll put the dough in top down, smush it around, and then turn it back over so that it's coated completely with the oil. I'll cover it in plastic and let it rise until it's doubled in size. I cannot wait to put these buns together. They are already rocking my world. Just like how my dad's gonna rock Grand Forks. My dad's in town to play a concert, and I'm whipping up my sugar-coated pork buns. I've already made the dough, and it's doubled in size. And here I've got my pork that has cooked beautifully in its sweet and salty marinade. I'll add it to my marinade that has cooled and thickened, and it'll make it extra saucy. Now I'll fold it together with the marinade to make sure each piece is coated in that goodness. Looks great. I'll grab my bun dough now. My dough has risen, it's all puffy and happy, and now I'll turn it out onto my surface. Oh, it's so soft and fluffy. I'll divide my dough into 9 equal pieces. And I'll take a piece of dough and roll it out into a circle that's about 5 inches wide or 1/4 inch thick. And I'll scoop a pile of filling right into the center. Now I'll gather the edges and pinch them shut to seal to lock all that goodness in. Just like that. So cute. I'll continue on shaping these now, and while they rest, I'll make the crunchy sugar topping. To get started, I'll combine 2/3 of a cup of all-purpose flour and 2/3 of a cup of powdered sugar into my food processor, a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. I'll pulse to combine. And add 6 tablespoons of softened, unsalted butter. And I'll pulse this until it's crumbly. I'll add an egg and blend this into a paste. Butter and sugar. What could be better on pork buns? I'm gonna grab a piping bag and my buns. These are some good-looking buns. Okay, now the easiest way to top these with the paste is to put it into a piping bag. So I have a piping bag fitted with a round tip, and it's standing up in my measuring cup. I'll fold the sides up. And starting in the center of a bun, I'm gonna pipe on a swirly shape. Like that. No fun at all. These are ready for the oven now. I'll bake them at 350 for about 20 minutes until they're golden brown. This is gonna be the best my buns have ever looked. Whenever my dad's in town, I love to cook Asian food because it's his favorite. So for a saucy side to our lunch, I'm making my Drunken Cucumber Noodles, which are a vegetable-centric version of the classic Thai dish that's dark and caramelly and loaded with fresh crunch. To get started, I'm spiralizing a cucumber. I'm turning it into noodles. And you can get one of these contraptions online, or you can slice a cucumber into thin coins. Look at this big old pile of noodles. I'll get these into my bowl, and into my pan, I'll add a drizzle of oil, and I'll add my onions and pepper. I have 1 chopped onion here, and a chopped orange pepper. I'll stir these around and let them cook until the onions are translucent. It's already starting to smell good. Next, I'll add my garlic. I'll add a ½ pound of ground chicken right to the pan, and then I'll cook it, breaking it up with a spoon so that it can be bite-sized pieces and get browned all over. While this continues to cook, I'll make my drunken sauce. This sauce is sweet and a little funky, and it has a slight touch of heat. It has it all. Start with 2 tablespoons of soy sauce and whisk it with a ½ teaspoon of cornstarch to thicken it up. 2 tablespoons of hoisin sauce and a tablespoon of fish sauce for a savory touch. A tablespoon of chili paste for a little heat, and 1½ teaspoons of sesame oil. I'll whisk this together, and I can hear my pan singing over there. I'm gonna dump this right in. I'll stir this all together to coat the chicken and the veggies, and I'll grab my tomatoes and scallion. These tomatoes will add their signature burstiness, and then I'll slice up my scallion. And I'll add this as well. This dish has a lot of personality, just like my dad, and it really comes out when he performs. This is looking great. I'm gonna add it to my cucumber noodles. I'll toss this all together. Oh yeah, look at all these bright colors. It's so vibrant. Let me grab my serving bowl and a lime, and I'll put it all together. I'll finish this with some lime juice and fresh basil. The lime will add great brightness. And some fresh basil, which will be really tasty. And that's it. Let me taste. So flavorful with a nice crunch from the cucumbers. This is gonna be the perfect contrast to the buns. Oh yeah, these look perfect. They're golden, and that sugary coating is gonna be so crispy and sweet. Hello! Welcome!
Thank you.
Hope you're hungry.
I sure am. Oh, there's a long one. Look at that. Long noodles, long life.
Uh-oh.
Oh my gosh.
Man, you're gonna live
a really long time. Oh my gosh.
Still
This is so
steamy on
tasty.
the inside.
And crunchy on the top. Sweet.
I'm so excited for the concert.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
We're pumped. It's gonna be a real party.
For a special gift to my dad after what I know is gonna be a killer musical delight, I am debuting my Matcha Mochi Doughnuts. They're super chewy with great green tea flavor. To get started, I have 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter melting, and I'm gonna turn off the heat and let this cool briefly while I make my starter. I'm gonna make a starter which is gonna help the dough come together, and that's just a 1/4 cup of glutinous rice flour mixed with 3 tablespoons of milk. And glutinous rice flour is found at Asian grocery stores or specialty grocery stores, or of course, online. And I love it because it's going to make these donuts have that satisfying, chewy texture that is the hallmark of mochi. I'll mix this together, and I'll heat it for a few minutes until it's thick and sticky. Mochi is a sweet, sticky dough that's made of rice flour, and sometimes it's filled with ice cream, other times it's fried, and it's delicious in all forms. Once this starter starts to thicken up, it thickens up really quickly. And then it forms this blob of dough. I'm gonna let this cool briefly while I mix up my remaining dry ingredients. I'll get 2 more cups of rice flour. I'll add 1/3 cup of sugar. Next, I'll grab my matcha powder. Matcha is very finely ground green tea leaves. It has this beautiful, natural, earthy green color and the flavor of green tea. I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon. I'll add 2 teaspoons of baking powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now I'll mix to combine. Got a whiff of that earthy green tea-ness. Okay, this is combined. Now I'm gonna mix up my wet ingredients. I'll get half a cup of whole milk. And this has been coming to room temperature. I don't want it to be too cold and firm up that melted butter. I'll grab 1 egg. I'll add in my melted butter. And then a teaspoon of vanilla will go really nicely with the matcha flavor. I'll whisk this to combine. I'm getting so excited for the concert. Okay, with my mixer on low, I'll drizzle in the wet ingredients. Look at that color. Ugh, I love it. Now I'm gonna grab my starter. I'll plop this right in. I'm gonna mix this on high. The starter's all mixed in. The dough is still really sticky though, which is what I want. So I'm gonna dust my surface with a lot of rice flour. Working with this dough is a lot about feeling. I'll use my hands to bring the dough together, kneading in as much flour as I need to in order for it to become smooth and not too sticky to work with. Next, I'm gonna roll out my dough until it's about 1/2 inch thick. I'll grab a piece of parchment paper, and I have my cookie cutter, which is around 1 1/4 inch cutter, and I'm gonna cut out 6 little circles. I'll place this onto my parchment square. I'll cut out 5 more circles. I'll form my circles into a ring, and I'll give this a little hug so that they stick together. And it looks just like that. How cute. I'm gonna keep on stamping out my circles, and then I'll be ready to fry. My dad is gonna get a kick out of these. It's almost time to head to my dad's concert. I can't wait to hear him play. I just have to finish up my Matcha Mochi Doughnuts. They're stamped and formed into rings. They're looking extra cute, but they're gonna look even cuter when they fry and puff up into balls. I have some neutral oil heating in my pot to 340 degrees. And to make sure that the little balls stay together, I'm actually gonna put them into the fryer on the parchment paper. I'll fry these in batches so that I don't crowd the pan, otherwise the temperature of the oil could drop and that makes a greasy donut. And I'll use tongs now to slip that parchment paper out from under the donuts. And once they're brown on one side, I can gently flip them over and fry on the other side. They look like flowers, because flowers, congratulations, post-concert, merriment. I planned this all along. And you know they're ready when they're golden on the other side too. I'll transfer this to my wire rack so that any excess oil can drip off. I'm gonna continue frying in batches. To decorate, my donuts are fully cooled. I'll take one and I'm gonna dunk it into the glaze about halfway. And this is just powdered sugar and matcha whisked together with milk and lemon juice. I'll let any excess glaze drip off. And before the glaze sets, I'm gonna add sprinkles. It's a special occasion. So cute. Talk about a masterpiece. Now it's time to decorate the rest. I love these. How good do they look? Okay, I have to make sure they're top notch for my dad, so I'm gonna taste one. It's so chewy and sweet, and I love that green tea flavor. Who needs flowers when you have donuts? Okay, I'm gonna box these up for my dad's show, and then I'll be ready to go. Bravo! That was so great. I think you guys earned donuts.
I think so too.
Oh my God. 5 donuts.
Look at that.
Help yourselves,
Matcha
but there's
mochi.
enough for
Oh
everybody.
my gosh, I can't wait.
Bravo, you guys.
Bravo. These are amazing.